She gonna love you and nurture you when you need it. She gonna kick your ass when you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. And she gonna push you to go get that bag when it's time to get that money. This is the mama that all children in the world need. We all mama. Momma Dee is a real one. You know, one thing about her, people say what they want to say about Momma Dee, but Momma Dee ain't really no style picker. Momma Dee really go for. You know what your problem is? I ain't got no problem. Beat your ass. You had a million times to do it.
As the sun sank over Atlanta streets, the city, which had emerged as the center of hip-hop, was engulfed in a golden glow. However, something extremely personal was taking place behind Love and Hip-Hop Atlanta's bright lights and constantly alert cameras. He was in the middle of the storm and still high from the release of his diss track against Lil Scrappy. The streets and social media were suddenly vulnerable because of his out-of-control rivalry with Scrappy. He got out of his car with his usual swagger, subdued by the tension that had been building around him, as Charles pulled up to a small eatery on a peaceful afternoon. What he didn't expect was a visit from someone who had been Scrappy's mother figure for as long as he could remember, but he was ready for whatever the world had in store for him next. Despite her commanding presence outside the eatery, Momma Dee had a serious expression on her face that Khaotic had never seen the queen of Atlanta hip-hop aristocracy before, and the mother, who had formerly been a fierce guardian of her son, was now standing in front of him in a manner completely foreign to him. Momma Dee was there to make a plea, not to dispute, to fight, or to protect her kid. He was never one to back down, and he had no intention of letting the mother who had always stood by her son down. Khaotic raised an eyebrow, unsure of the purpose of this. He still carried the wrath from their recent rupture, and his arms stiffened at his sides. Tell them how to feel, but maybe was requesting something far more challenging than a fight. Khaotic saw that her attitude had altered as she drew closer. There was a rawness in her eyes, an almost parental melancholy that made him stop and take a long breath, instead of the fiery, unrepentant anger he had seen on TV and in the streets. She spoke in a calm yet passionate voice. "I'm here today to apologize to you on behalf of my son, even though I realize that things went out of hand and that he takes great pleasure in himself. I hurt you, and I understand the deep impact this has had on you. Having been a mother all my life, I am aware that my child must fix his mistakes." Anarchy, the anger that had been rising within him, began to fade as Momma Dee continued, to be replaced by something else. "Mama, I'm aware that you're not upset with me." His heart was still raw from the diss track he had dropped days ago, and his jaw stiffened. In addition to fighting for respect, he had been fighting for recognition that he had put in a lot of effort to earn his spot in the game. As she spoke, Dee's voice cracked slightly. "I know you feel duped, but please listen to what my kid has to say. I beg you to pardon him, but sometimes he is too arrogant to listen to me." He had never seen Momma Dee appear to be more than a reality TV personality. Rather, she was a mother looking down at the ground and pleading for her son's rescue. Kaz watched her talk without moving. Her words had weight and sincerity, piercing the layers of hurt and hubris that had built up between them. The tears were visible to Khaotic. She was crying, but she wasn't asking him to just forgive and forget what had occurred. She was asking him to give Scrappy another chance to make amends and to let them move past the rift that had torn their once bonding pathways apart. Kaz took a long breath, the anger slowly subsiding. Even though he wanted to keep his dignity, something softened inside of him, since it was hard to be furious when someone was so vulnerable and exposed. "Be ready to let go of everything." Slowly, as the weight of the occasion weighed on his shoulders, he nodded, but not just yet. Maddie's appeal struck him as human, and he saw for the first time the woman behind the TV character. A mother who loved her kid and a woman who knew the cost of pride. "I'll give it some thought," he added in a calmer tone, "but I can't promise anything. Matey's eyes sparkled as she silently thanked Scrappy for his hardships, not for forgiveness, but for the chance to make amends. She said, "You Khaotic, you have no idea what this means to me." He began to walk away after that, but something inside of him changed. Maybe this was about understanding rather than just fighting a battle.
To Khaotic. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. We're not. But not. Because I can give a So let me tell you something. When a motherfucker over me and he feel like I'm not a good person, I feel the same way he is. So we on the same page.
No, but he does not feel that.
He just said it. He said, hey, if you feel like I'm not a good person in your life, then you need to stay like that and don't stand on me. And we don't stand on it.
No.
Let's stand on it.
No.
He don't stand on it.
No, he said not. He did not say that.
What I said was, if you feel like I'm a bad person to you, then
Okay, but this is not about that right now. This is about you. How do you feel about him?
I never said I had a problem with him.
No, this what he do. This what he do. He say something crazy and he's like, oh, I ain't got no beef. I ain't got no drug. Khaotic always trying to play a victim. He'll start, then he want to be like, I don't want no beef, man. If you got an issue, stand on it. If not, sit down and shut up, bro.
At the end of the day, like I said, bro, it don't even really matter.
Still don't try to goddamn. He want everybody to go,
oh my God.
No, because we're so grown. We're making a assessment of our own thoughts here.
I can watch the good. I'll be like, oh.
Okay, so wait.
You know what your problem is?
I ain't got no problem with I'll beat your ass.
You had a million times to do it. You're a TV man.
You a clown.
You got a problem with me.
Keep talking that boy.
His familial ties and career, but nothing could have foreseen the day when Scrappy's own actions would bring him into disrepute. It all started with a particularly contentious dispute with Khaotic, a cast member who was notorious for his brazen demeanor and propensity to cause trouble. Gotten into a small argument with Scrappy that quickly spiraled out of control. A dispute swiftly escalated into a full-fledged confrontation as words were exchanged and accusations were hurled. As the stress mounted, Scrappy, who was notoriously irritable, reached his breaking point. Despite their harsh verbal exchange, Scrappy's warning was what? The staff and producers who had witnessed the scenario were taken aback to learn that this was not only another tense disagreement, but rather a man who had gone too far. There was more to his promise of disaster than words alone. There was little space for interpretation in the words themselves, and his tone was ominous. In a fit of wrath, this would finally clinch his doom.
He the one who called me out my name, disrespecting me, talking gangster. I never talked gangster. I never threatened you. I don't play no victim. I just don't do all that fake gangster talking and all that. You can't let me talk gangster. First of all, if I say anything stupid or say anything crazy out my mouth, I got the right to